And welcome in for another Soft Acrylic webinar. My name is Sammy Cinco now. I got married, but I'm our marketing manager at Soft Acrylic. I'm located in Minneapolis. I'm joined here with Morgan and Brad out of our Atlanta office to talk about our new solution called AudienceMatchAI. I will let them get into all of the nitty gritty details about it. We're really excited about this new solution that their team has been working really hard on. And we think it's going to be really helpful for a lot of our clients as well as a lot of our partners to utilize. If throughout the webinar you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A or in the chat. If you want more information about Soft Acrylic, more information about this solution, or a one-on-one to talk about it further for your specific use case, you can reach out directly to Brad or to our Soft Acrylic email, info@softacrylic.com, and we will set up some time to go over it with you. With that, I'll pass it off to Brad, and we're going to talk all things Audience Match AI.
Thank you, Sammy. Hey, all. Brad Kosman. I lead data science and analytics at Soft Acrylic. Our team handles everything from basic reporting and spreadsheet work all the way up through cloud, AI, and ML, which is what we're going to be talking about today.
How's it going, everyone? My name is Morgan DePietro. I'm a senior consultant with Soft Acrylic and work a lot with e-commerce data.
Fantastic. Thank you. All right. So today we want to talk about a really exciting new solution that we've been building at Soft Acrylic. It hits a lot of different pain points in marketing. We're going to get into all that in a little bit, but we're calling it AudienceMatchAI, and it sort of feeds off of a previous service that we've provided for a long time now. It's called audience modeling. Basically, we come in, we take all of your first and third party data, and we find ML-driven, data-driven customer segments to market to, and their addressable audiences. You get a lot of intel out of it. It's actually a profoundly valuable project. So a little bit about Soft Acrylic to kick things off. We have three basic components of the company. One is engineering. We actually started off as a data and software engineering company. One is data and analytics. That's where Morgan and I reside. This is all things analytics, digital analytics, advanced analytics, and so forth. And the third is MarTech. And all three of these components kind of combine to be our secret sauce. And our secret sauce is being able to come in and do all of that technical stuff that modern marketing relies on to run efficiently and effectively. But marketing organizations frequently are not really staffed to handle. So we fill that kind of that need by coming in, working with your data, working with your MarTech stack, providing insights and analytics, providing digital analytics, implementing Adobe Analytics, GA, etc. And within data and analytics, we focus on a couple of different things, or at least within the data science practice. One is audience, which is mostly what we're going to be focused on, and the other is attribution. Those are two big, heavy, sort of algorithmically driven types of project that are difficult to take on, and they require a lot of expertise across a number of different domains in order to execute effectively. The way that all of our different practices come together to support our clients, we like to envision it as the data journey here. The data journey is basically, as soon as you start bringing in your data, what processes it goes through and what processes you as an organization have to go through to get it positioned correctly and to really leverage the most value out of it that you can. This journey never ends, right? You're always bringing in new data sources, you're incorporating new types of analytics, you're activating new audiences, etc. So the solution that we want to talk about today kind of sits later on in the data journey, more on the strategy and modeling piece, where you have your data well positioned and you're trying to extract value from it and identify highly valuable audiences for marketing and activation. So there seems to be a disconnect. Everybody wants to talk about using their data, their marketing data, to drive revenue, RoAS, whatever bottom line KPI you're looking at. And everybody has customer data nowadays. We've been collecting it for 10, 20 years from your websites, from marketing campaigns, a lot of times third-party data coming in, demographics and so forth. Everybody wants to use that data, but still nobody really feels like they're leveraging their data to the full potential. And there are a few different reasons for that. Not being able to get to this holy grail of data-driven audiences being served with data-driven advertising, and then your budgeting and media mix being allocated based on sophisticated attribution. The methods to do that have been in place for a long time. Everybody knows they have the data there. There's just disconnect from getting that data into a place where it can really be leveraged. There are a few reasons for this. One is just the data wrangling and algorithms associated with it are frequently a headache. Segmentation approach. So once you have your data, how do you actually find that right audience? There are a lot of different segmentation approaches out there. It's hard to select the right one. Just propensity models, RFM analysis. There's a lot of different ways to go about it, and it's not always clear what the best way to approach it is. Once you have audience segments, how do you even choose the right one for a specific marketing initiative? That's not always obvious either. And then finally, activating an audience. The MarTech stack has grown and grown over the years. It's now a really sophisticated, advanced piece of machinery that can also be a little bit cumbersome to operate. So what is our solution to this? Well, going into the future, we see AudienceMatchAI as being that solution. Effectively, what AudienceMatchAI is a way for you to interact with your data. We kind of think of it as a new type of user interface for your data, right? We went from a terminal, decades ago to a keyboard and mouse, and then now we have GenAI that allows you to kind of dig in and interrogate your data without even needing to write code. So let's overview that solution just a little bit. This is just a wireframe of the UI. The UI that we're going to present in a minute looks a little bit different, but we're headed in this direction. This is still a work in progress. With the basic bones and technology are there, but we're still kind of polishing it to become a product. So you're seeing kind of version alpha here, and we're going to be really excited to have more webinars going forward as we roll out new releases and new features. It's really exciting stuff. So just going to point out some of the highlights here. So first, there's a capability within the UI to just load your customer data set. This can come out of S3 or Redshift and AWS. It can come out of Blob or any other Azure data storage. It's really agnostic. And it can even sit on top of your CDP if you have one. Push button ML segmentation. This is a proprietary Softcrylic auto ML solution that runs this segmentation. It basically explores a bunch of different methods and picks the right one, the one that best kind of separates your audiences and gives you the clearest definitions of those audiences. And that just runs in the background. The assistant then ingests the audience data, so the segments, and each of those segments has descriptive statistics attached to it. Their spend, their time on site, what have you. Morgan's going to walk through more of that in just a moment. Once the assistant has ingested all of that data, it helps to identify personas. So basically, let's say that you have 5 different segments. It's actually an extremely tedious and non-trivial process to look at those 5 segments, look at their descriptive statistics, and figure out who each of these personas should be, who your customers are in each of these different buckets. The LLM is like very, very well positioned to be able to do this because it can ingest fairly large amounts of data, more so than a human can keep in memory at one time, and then spit back kind of human readable text that describes that data. So the persona identification is a huge time saver, and we'll get into that more in a moment. Once you have your personas, the audience assistant will actually help you strategize for them. Again, Morgan's going to tell a little bit of a story here in a moment along those lines. And that strategy, it's just a starting point. It's a springboard to getting towards, strategy deck or even rolling out a campaign. Finally, exporting and activating addressable audiences. Since you are working with a combination of first and third-party data here, you will have customer identifiers stitched into it. So the auto segmentation and persona identification actually stitches in to that data set what customer segment each individual belongs to. Okay, so with that, you can simply export a CSV with hashed email addresses or CDP IDs, various different identifiers, and then market directly to them. So you can actually go from just a data set to an activated audience with ML-driven segmentation and persona identification in like a matter of minutes if you really wanted to. It's pretty impressive stuff. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Morgan. Morgan's actually going to demo this tool. Nothing like a live demo to get the adrenaline flowing. And he's going to tell a little bit of a story of sort of a day in the life of a marketer who's using AudienceMatchAI to suit their needs and kind of solve for some of those pain points that we were discussing a minute ago.
Okay, great. I'll go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, cool. So this is the tool. We had a quick overview from Brad. Let's just go ahead and click on our summarize audience segments. That's kind of our push button ML here. You'll note at the top, it's running right now.
So this is our proprietary AutoML algorithm. It's picking dimensionality reduction techniques, pre-processing techniques, and various ML techniques in the background, trying to select the right one to apply to our particular data set.
Okay, cool. So we have our summarized audience segments. Let's just take a look at some of our clusters, our cluster names, and some of the outputs. I'm just going to expand each one here. So segment 0, we've got the budget savvy youngster. This segment mostly consists of young males from Montana who make frequent but relatively budgeted purchases and prefer using their credit cards. Average age is about 31.34 years, the lowest among all of our clusters. The lowest purchase amount as well at $39.43. And they make purchases every 3 months, which is the highest frequency amongst all our clusters. And they have a decent number of previous purchases, around 24. I'm not going to review all of these, but let's look at one more. So we've got the affluent regular. This cluster is mainly composed of older men from Montana who make more pricey purchases on a regular quarterly basis using credit cards. The cluster's average age is approximately 57, the highest amongst all clusters. The average purchase amount is $80. They're likely to make purchases quarterly, and they have the highest number of previous purchases. Cool. So we've got some information here, and we can start asking Audience Match about our data. So let's go ahead and do that. One thing I want to demonstrate is the way that we have exposed this data to the LLM is reduces the amount of hallucinations. We've exposed aggregated data to it, and I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate that. So actually, let's just look here. This cluster budget savvy youngster has a purchase amount of 39.43. And we see that that's our number here. So on the right here, we have some quick aggregations. These are quantitative aggregations, right? Review rating. Let me minimize my zoom. Review rating, previous purchases, purchase amount. And then we have some categorical aggregations, some qualitative aggregations over here. So kind of their top locations, their top shopping season, whether or not they're subscribed to our subscription, payment method, things like that. Shipping type, which is interesting. It didn't, when we looked through these clusters, it didn't give us any information on shipping type, but we will, let's dig in there. So let's just ask and see if we get the right answer.
Morgan, while you're typing, I do want to throw one thing out there. Morgan mentioned the hallucination component here. Obviously, one of the pitfalls working with GenAI and LLMs is hallucinations, right? We've seen the jokes and the memes going around. We've done a lot of internal research here over the last year or so to figure out how to mitigate that. And if you go through these audience segments and the way that the GenAI has justified its persona identification, all the statistics are right on. We've tried this across a number of different data sets, and it hasn't hallucinated yet because we just have some techniques for getting the data ingested in such a way that it doesn't choke.
Cool. So we see that we got the right answer, 39.43. That's what's telling us in our segment overview, and that's also what our aggregated quantitative data is telling us right here, 39.43. Cool. So let's ask some more questions. Let's start simple. Say I just want, these are great summaries, but say I want something even more concise that maybe I'll send to my leadership team.
And by the way, this is a real data set. This is not a client data set of ours. It's an open source, publicly available data set, but this is real e-commerce data, much like what you would have. And this extends beyond e-commerce. I mean, we can incorporate marketing data or even in-store sales with your POS data, stuff like that as well.
Well, so I'm just asking Audience Match to give me kind of a more concise summary that maybe I want to send to my executive leadership team. Let's see what we get. Cool. Looks like it gave me a pretty concise summary. Cluster 1, affluent regular group consists of older men from Montana who make more expensive purchases on a regular quarterly basis. Okay, can it be even more concise?
This is important for building like a strategy deck or something. You don't want to have paragraphs of text that describe each persona. That would be
exactly. after this, we'll start digging into some more of the data and start trying to build a marketing story around these clusters. Okay, cool. So it looks like it gave me kind of something even more concise, one
Nice.
sentence
Yeah.
per cluster.
I like that.
Let's dig into some of the data. Let's just talk about purchasing frequency.
Kind of cool to take a step back at this point, just realize we just loaded our first party data, ran machine learning, and are now interacting with our customer segments that are, again, these are addressable audiences. There's an export button below that you can just push these out into Salesforce, into AEP, and whatever marketing tech you're going to use to activate the audiences. They're ready to go right now. It's pretty cool for a 5-minute demo.
Cool. So let's look at this. Purchasing frequency greatly varies across the clusters. The budget savvy youngsters purchase more frequently every 3 months and quarterly. Frequent engagement with these groups suggests interest in consistent relationship and regular product updates. Okay. The young high spenders and the prudent elders make annual purchases. With these groups, there could be an opportunity for focusing on luxury items or special annual promotions.
Yeah.
And we can start thinking about, okay, maybe how do we activate those young high spenders or those prudent elders to make more frequent purchases, right? Maybe that's something that we want to do. Let's talk about something else. So I'm looking at some of our qualitative data over here. I see some information on shipping type, but I didn't get much information about shipping type in any of our segments. Right, I don't really see information about shipping type here, so let's just see what it can tell us about that.
How much time do you think this has saved you so far? Like, how much effort would this have normally taken?
Yeah, this, especially getting kind of summaries for these clusters where we've seen success with when we run these models, almost providing like a menu for marketers to select their clusters from.
Yep.
And like you said, that takes a lot of time, right? That takes a few days. We get there really, really quick with this method.
Yep.
Let's learn about shipping preferences here. So, okay, it is telling us there's some shipping preference differences between these clusters. So budget savvy youngsters, they prefer free shipping. The affluent regular prefers express. Young high spenders, they, what do they prefer? Free shipping as well. Okay, cool. So we were able to learn a little bit about shipping preferences. Okay, let's start maybe trying to build a marketing campaign here. How am I doing on time?
Good. You got 10. Okay. This is really good for sort of a move fast and break things perspective as well. If you want to try multiple different segmentation approaches, multiple different data sets, and just start trying to see what works, again, it's all push button. And you get the personas back right away. And if the personas, matched up against one data set that you're trying to segment on, don't look like what you need, just pivot to the next data set and keep moving. Again, as Morgan mentioned a minute ago, bare minimum, this would have taken days with more of a manual approach, more of a traditional approach. So just multiply that by any number of experimental iterations that you want to run. This quickly becomes like months worth of effort distilled down into hours.
Absolutely. Okay, so now I've asked Audience Match. I've told it that, hey, we have an organization-wide initiative to increase foot traffic in our stores. And if I were to build out a marketing campaign around that initiative, which cluster would be the best to target? So let's see what kind of information it gives us here. Considering the goal to increase foot traffic in your stores, the best cluster to target would likely be the budget savvy youngster. They have the highest frequency of purchases every 3 months. Therefore, offering them unique in-store experiences, deals, or promotion could effectively bring them to your physical locations more frequently. However, as they are budget conscious, any campaign would need to account for value for money aspects. So it's giving us some pretty good information that we might be able to start thinking about building a marketing campaign around. So great.
Younger folks are very experiential too. Like that's the way that they like to interact with the world. So that makes a lot of sense to draw folks into the store, maybe even gamify the experience a little bit.
We did get a question if you guys want to address it while we run this next one about would Audience Match AI be a potential solution for insurance companies or banks or retail companies? Do you see any limitations within kind of verticals this could be useful for?
No, absolutely not. We've run our audience modeling. So I mentioned audience modeling earlier, which is the sort of manual approach to this, and then we're just rolling out this product to facilitate that and accelerate that in a sense, and to empower our clients to look at their own data. But the general audience modeling we've run across B2B in the health and information systems industry for one, example. We've run it in the travel industry. We've run it in liquor distribution. We've run this across a ton of different applications and industries, B2B, B2C. We always find the same results. It's actually kind of incredible. There's always a couple or a few different segments that come out that map directly onto ongoing business marketing initiatives. So yes, applicable to you in the insurance field as well.
Cool. So now I'm just starting to build out this marketing campaign. I've asked Audience Match to help me come up with some creative that might resonate with that budget savvy youngster audience. Okay, and it looks like it gave me some creative. The thrill of good shopping is just a visit away. We're excited to see you. Swipe, save, and start in style while keeping your budget in check. Visit our store in Montana today and step up your style game without stepping over your wallet. I like that. Okay, cool. How about some creative?
So there's also a little bit of special development that we've done that's working behind the scenes here to help the GenAI system be more specialized, I guess. So it will outperform sort of very general LLMs at marketing specific tasks. There are a bunch of different ways to do that, but we've discovered a formula that works pretty well for this particular application.
Okay, we've got some copy, and now I'm just asking it to think about what kind of creative imagery might resonate with this audience. Let's see what we get here.
So taking a peek at our roadmap, actually, this is really good. We're going to start building in some multimodal functionality that will actually allow you to, for example, generate audience creative or marketing creative, etc. That's coming in the next, say, year or so.
Multimodal capabilities would be huge here. Instead of just describing what kind of imagery, we could potentially spit out creative right off the rip.
Right.
Okay, so the kind of creative imagery Audience Match is suggesting is youthful and fun pictures of people within their age range, early 30s, enjoying shopping, visual showing a vibrant and trendy store environment to emphasize the pleasant in-store experience, stylish yet affordable clothing items, in-store display showing discounts, offers, exclusive deals, infographic showcasing savings for purchasing your favorite item. Okay, pretty interesting. Okay, let's say we ran a campaign with that creative imagery. Let's try and run, maybe see if it can help us diagnose marketing performance. And I'm going to try and trick Audience Match here a little bit, and I'll show you guys how.
So even if these ideas aren't like you're sitting there saying, yeah, these are all fine. Well, it's also just a jumping off point, right? So it just spits out rapidly, 10 different ideas and allows you to kind of just pick a handful that you think could be viable, if with just a little bit of tweaking and move from there. So again, it's a time saver from a marketing perspective. A lot of this is just ideation and kind of rubber ducking with the LLM itself and trying to get back useful information. Of course, we're limited in time to date, but you can also go back and forth and kind of narrow down your requests and say, like, I like this idea. Can we expand on that a little bit? It's a very, very fluid user experience to drill down into your data, to come up with more deeper kind of audience strategies, marketing strategies. We've played with examples before with loyalty programs as well. Always has really interesting ideas about how to bring in more folks into a loyalty program since, for example, first party data has become such a hot topic these last few years. There's a lot more interest in generating those first party profiles.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cool. So I'm trying to trick Audience Match here a little bit. I told it that we ran a marketing campaign and targeted the budget savvy youngsters to increase in-store traffic. We emphasized our new sundress line, but the campaign performed poorly. Can you help me figure out why it may have performed poorly? I kind of have an idea. If you look at cluster 0 here, who are budget savvy youngsters, they're primarily males, and their top item purchase are hoodies, not sundresses, right? Let's see what Audience Match tells us. Based on the characteristics, there could be a few reasons why the campaign may have been less successful. Gender of products. The budget-savvy youngster cluster primarily consists of young males. If the campaign primarily promoted a sundress line, that may not have resonated with your target audience. Okay, cool. I got the answer I was looking for. I wasn't really able to trick it here. Research data also notes that this cluster made previous purchases related to hoodies. Okay, cool. It said pivot to different clothing items like sundresses may not have been viewed as relevant to them. Some information about in-store versus online experience, seasonal alignment. Okay, interesting. How are we doing on time?
Oh, we should probably wrap it soon, but if you have a couple more really intriguing
Okay,
insights to share.
I've got one more that's a little bit nitty gritty, a little bit more specific and nuanced. Let's ask it about a cashback rewards program.
Oh, interesting. It's kind of getting at that loyalty question a little bit.
While you're typing it out, we had a few questions come up about the size of data sets that this can work with.
Okay.
Is there a limit? How do you address the context limits in general? Yeah.
So that's part of how I mentioned a little bit ago that the way that we're sharing the data set with the LLM is proprietary. I don't want to give away too much of that. So context can become a problem, but you don't expose the entire data set typically to the LLM. That's as far as I'm going to go with that. As far as data limits for the audience segmentation component of this, there really aren't any. The way that we've designed the AutoML algorithms, basically you can feed in any size of data, up to some reasonable, terabytes, right? Really the problem comes with lower bounds. For ML to operate effectively, you probably want a couple thousand data points, at least a few hundred, I would say. So if your audience is very, very small, it's like in some B2B context, it might be, we can struggle a little bit there. But in those cases, there are other segmentation approaches that are easier to apply anyway.
Cool. So I asked Audience Match, I told it, hey, Venmo's offering me $100,000 of marketing credit to run a card link cashback rewards program via Dosh. Customers who are served our ads and purchases will receive cashback directly to their Venmo account. Which cluster may be the best to target for this campaign? So it says, given that the campaign is sponsored by Venmo and provides cashback directly to a Venmo account, the best cluster to target would likely be cluster 1. That's the affluent regular. The customers in this cluster are older males from Montana who make more expensive regular purchases and also have the highest number of previous purchases. They're known to be less price sensitive than other clusters. Though they currently prefer credit cards as their payment method with a rewarding cashback system in place, they may be willing to switch or diversify their payment methods and start using Venmo. Interesting, pretty good answer. So you can see it's a complete playground, right? It's the world is your oyster. You can ask it anything about the data that you want. You can really work with it to strategize and iterate.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool tool.
Yeah, we usually think of like interacting with your customer data as a very rote process. You're writing SQL, you're putting stuff in an Excel spreadsheet. This is a very creative, fluid process. That kind of works better for the way we think as people. There's almost like a context switching when you're writing SQL and then thinking creatively about your audiences and going back and forth. That's kind of all handled here, and you just get to be, just to get to interact with your data in a very fluid way.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Sweet. Thank you, Morgan. Awesome story.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Just to wrap things up here. So just to kind of recap what we just went over. So we started off with a raw, real e-commerce customer data set. And then by the end of the, say, 15-minute presentation, we had strategies outlined. We had theories for why campaigns weren't performing. We had data-driven audience segments. Really, the only part that we skipped was the activation, but that's also facilitated by the fact that you can just export your audiences. They're already addressable by the time that you put your data set together. So customer segmentation, save days of time on that. That's pretty heavy programming normally. And our AutoML solution really helped get over that hurdle. Persona analysis, this can be days or weeks of just sitting in a room trying to figure out what the descriptive statistics of your audience segments are telling you about the personalities within them. Strategizing, we spent a lot of time on that, a lot of back and forth, a lot of, again, creative thinking going on there. And this new user interface for your data really helping to drive insights that that are the foundation for strategy. And then activation, again, we didn't get into that, but very quickly being able to export and activate your addressable audiences. So with that, I thank you all for joining today. It's been an absolute pleasure to introduce this. Again, this is just our first step along a very long journey. The tool in all its glory is ready to go, but we're going to keep adding new feature sets to it, and we're just excited to go down this road, and we hope you all join us on that journey. Sammy, back to you.
Thanks, guys. Awesome job. Like I said, if you guys have questions about Audience Match AI or about Softcrylic in general, feel free to reach out. That email on the screen, info@softcrylic.com. We can do personalized demos or talk about our other free services, excuse me, other services and content. We do also partner with Microsoft for dashboard in a day events. So those are going over Power BI. You can find those on our website. We also do a similar program called the Fabric Analyst in a Day that we go over for a 1-day workshop going through that tool in partnership with Microsoft. On our website, you can find more blogs from our data science and analytics team, as well as white papers and case studies. But thank you, Brad. Thank you, Morgan. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And I will send out the recording early next week so you guys can have this demo at your fingertips. Have a fantastic day.
Thanks, Sammy. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a great rest of your week and weekend.